Welcome to Combos from the Couch by Lifestance Health, where leading mental health professionals help guide you on your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Welcome to another episode of Combos from the Couch. I'm Nicolette Lianza, and today I'm joined by a special co-host, Lifestance Public Relations Manager, Samantha Miller. Hey, Sam. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we'll be talking with therapists Han Wetmore and Harley Rubin all about the HBO Max series Heated Rivalry and what has made it such a standout phenomenon. So thanks for joining us, Han and Harley.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Oops. Yeah, thank you. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Heated Rivalry, the series follows two characters, Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov, two professional hockey players who maintain a secret, long-term, and salacious relationship while playing for rival teams. The show is based on the book series by Rachel Reed. So I'm eager to jump in. Sam, let's have you kick off our conversation by sharing your feelings and experience with the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited that we're doing this episode because I need answers. I need to know what this show has done to me and collectively all of us. After watching the show, it's difficult to explain, but I really felt like fundamentally changed. Like my brain chemistry was different. I wasn't the same person I was before I watched Heated Rivalry. And I never felt this way about a TV show before. Then I go on social media, come to find out that I was not alone in this experience. There were so many Reddit threads, Instagram posts, TikToks of people expressing the same exact feeling that I was feeling from this show. So it really got me wondering why. Like, why do so many of us feel fundamentally changed about this after the show? So I'm really curious to know, what is it about Heated Rivalry that is having such an intense emotional effect on people?
So thank you, Sam, for sharing all that. I'm curious, Harley, did you have a similar response as Sam to the show?
I really have felt like, first of all, I hope that we can get closer to that answer, but I also feel like it's different for everyone. I think one of the things the show does really well is drop you into a story with really compelling dialogue, really compelling actors, like very good acting that is so much about mental health and trauma and the ways we communicate with each other. And I think that being really immersed and feeling just how well done the show is, I could see how that can be a really powerful experience to see it through to the end and all of like kind of the trials and tribulations they go through to eventually get to a happy ending. I don't know if that's spoilers for people, but I think romance can be pretty healing that way in general. And I feel like this is a very specific example of it being done really well.
So thank you, Harley. I'm gonna give my 3 cents with this as well. So I was a little slower to warm up, but once I got, it was really, truly, it was that fourth episode that I was just like, I'm in. Now, mind you, it's 6 episodes, and it took me four. And so I think initially it was a little bit, I was just like, okay, that seems to be pretty good. But part of it was I do identify as a lesbian. I'm like, my wife and I watched the first episode, and I was like, okay, that's good. It'd be better if it was two women. Called it a day. So then more and more people told me, okay, let me push that aside. Let's just see where else we go. And so it was something about that fourth episode that I was just like locked in. Okay, I get it now. I get why people are liking this show. And we'll talk later, like some of our favorite scenes and stuff like that. And I'll share later more specifically about that
Yeah.
fourth episode. But yeah, so that was me. I was a little late to the game. And I was like, oh, I get it. All right. And I have to admit, I really do. With an character, he is hilarious in his little one-liners and just how he interacts with people and stuff like that. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my little confession with all that. So yeah,
Well, that's
maybe we'll get
okay.
some answers.
If I could hop in one more time, also, I
Yeah.
feel like you said about like female characters, I think this really offers a different gaze and a different desire than we usually get in TV shows. Like there's
Yeah.
so, I think, few pieces of media or TV shows where we're really indulging in what it's like to be attracted to men in the male body. And I think that's really
Mhm.
interesting. As well as a sapphic gaze, though. I will
Yeah.
point that out too. I feel like that's very limited also. But I think a lot of women really loved that piece too and
Mhm.
identified with that because we see it so little in like action
Right.
movies. It's geared the other way and it's such a straight male
Right.
gaze.
Very true, Harley.
I was just going to say, Harley, I think you made an excellent point earlier. It's not one single thing. It's the characters, it's the story, it's the cinematography, the music. Like it just everything works so well together to create this emotional, romantic masterpiece, I feel.
So Sam, let's have you kick us off with our next question here. See
Oh,
if we can
sure.
digress this more.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any particular themes or messages from the show that you think resonate with its audience and why?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
really
Harley.
feel like yeah, like we start always, I think, these conversations with toxic masculinity and sports cultures. And I think a lot of people, queer people, have been in situations and can identify with situations where you had to hide yourself and you had to pretend to be someone else, pretend to be more strong or reserved because you couldn't show who you were. And so I think that is like a major theme that people are identifying with, as well as like communication issues. Like I think a lot of people who work a lot as therapists with men or have been in relationships with men, it's like kind of a huge cultural, sociological issue to be able to talk about like vulnerable feelings with men. And I think especially both of them being raised in a culture where they weren't incredibly able to be close with women or out or any of those things, raised in such like traditional ways. I think those are two themes that I feel like really hit for people, including
Yeah.
me, really hit for me.
Yeah. To piggyback, looking at what that homophobia looked like, with that even what maybe some internalized homophobia looked like with the characters maybe being very resistant to maybe share that parts of themselves to their own families. That
Mhm.
fear there. So I think we definitely see that evolution throughout the show moving towards that. For sure. Yeah, some great themes there.
What about you,
Absolutely.
Sam?
Oh man, particular themes. I think just I really like how the characters are so subtle in their interactions. Like the scene where Shane is at the restaurant with, what's her name, Rose?
Rose, yeah.
And it's just like the tiniest face movements when he's like realizing that she knows and he feels seen and understood. I think that those tiny details really stood out to me throughout the show.
Mhm. That's a good point. The women in the show were so supportive. Rose was so like understanding, and like it sounds like she felt it or sensed it for sure. So for
Yeah.
her to just bring it up directly with Shane, and he felt safe enough to just come out. Then, yeah, that was a very good scene. That's a good
Yeah,
scene.
I saw a lot of commentary online talking about, can we talk about the girls in Heated
Right,
Rivalry who are
right.
just so down for Shane and Ilya and want them to be happy? So that
Mhm.
was cool.
Yeah, I really agree. I was like commenting on that during the show, like both of those Lana. Oh my gosh, I'm saying
Yeah,
that wrong. Yeah,
Svetlana.
both of them being really supportive and like ultimately like you worry about the tension or them like having angry, resentful feelings, and neither of them end up doing that. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that's really beautiful and a really I also found it in the books, especially yeah, and I think it is Elena Kip's best friend in the third episode too, is like incredibly supportive and stands up for him. And I think I was just really proud of the role of women.
Actually, can you give us your initial response to the show, your own feelings and experience with the show?
Sure, absolutely. So I've had many a client recommend Heated Rivalry to me. It's not uncommon that clients recommend certain forms of media to me, but this was the one that came up time and time again with multiple clients. And so I'm like, all right, I have to watch this. So I did. I binged it all in one weekend, like most people do. And it was fantastic. I was hooked within the first, with that, in that very first scene between Shane and Ilya, where Shane is introducing himself to Ilya. I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. This is going to be great. And it was all the way through. I loved every minute of it.
Was there any particular themes or messages you felt the show was giving off?
Interestingly enough, one of my absolute favorite themes was a quiet description, I'm sorry, a depiction of Shane Hollander's autism. And the fact that he is a very explicitly autistic character just in the way that he acts and reacts in social situations, in the fact that he doesn't quite get like certain kinds of jokes or takes them very literally. And that he has like a very kind of touch and go relationship with sex in the beginning. He's just a very intriguing character, and I do feel that by and large I do think a lot of autistic representation is it's very stereotypical in a lot of media.
Stereotypical.
So it's nice to see a character that is autistic who is also a very high achieving character too. It's like Shane is at the top of his field and he's a professional athlete. So it's depicting that autistic people can be in any role in life. They can be queer, they can also be professional athletes. And
Right.
so that was my personal favorite theme. Of course, setting aside all of the themes of queer love and sexuality and stuff like that.
Got you. Yeah.
Do you know if that's in other places? Has like the director, showrunner, not that it changes the fact that I also feel like he was very neurodivergent coded and autistic coded, but was that in the book or anything like that?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I've never read the book.
Oh, okay. I'm reading them now. I'm going for it. But I just wanted to ask if that was like, so they never say that. And I think actually a lot of media like that, where you can tell that a character's neurodivergent, they actually don't say it. And it's pros and cons.
Sure.
Han, one more thing I want to throw at you, because we were beginning this episode with Sam sharing her experiences and just wanting to know answers of why are we all having such an intense emotional effect on us? Han, I'm going to flip that question to you. Why do you think this is having such an effect on all of us, this show?
I think the answer is probably a lot more complex than I'm going to actually put it forth as. I do genuinely feel like one of the most powerful aspects of this show is the depiction of a healthy relationship. I do feel that a lot of media depicts, and this is across the board, it's not just queer relationships, it's a lot of heterosexual relationships in media are also depicted as the relationship is unbalanced, or there's a lot of communication issues, or maybe they don't particularly like certain aspects of each other. But pretty much the common thread throughout Shane and Ilya's relationship is it's very healthy. There's very clear consent in the sex scenes. There are multiple aspects of them talking about their future together. What I love about Ilya is that he doesn't seem to fully, I'm not going to say understand neurodivergency, but Ilya doesn't seem to be neurodivergent himself, but yet he still treats Shane completely normally. When Shane has panic attacks, he's there to support Shane.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting to see, because I do think it's not only a very healthy depiction of a relationship, it's a very realistic depiction of a relationship too. I do think, this is just my personal opinion, but I think a lot of people are really tired of the way that romance is depicted in media, and to see a healthy relationship, especially between two very powerful people, especially a queer relationship now in the current political landscape, it is a very strong message. And I think a lot of people resonate with that.
Oh, definitely. Which actually leads me to my next question. So why is it so important for shows like Heated Rivalry to portray queer sex? And how do these representations contribute to visibility and authenticity? So let's start with Harley for that. Oh, no, go ahead, Han.
No.
Go ahead.
Nope. No, Harley first.
Yeah, I did say before, I really think that it's so different to have it such a male focused like attraction and a male focused desire that really doesn't happen often in any of our media, just because of honestly the objectification of women. Like it's not necessarily a good thing. And I think that they do a lot of like fan gaze for us, but I also feel like a lot of queer media is so sterile and isn't okay with showing any sexuality. I think under the assumption that the audience wouldn't like that or wouldn't get it and straight on audiences wouldn't tune in. I would say I have been talking a little bit to clients who brought up Heated Rivalry and some that I thought might like it. And then I had a client come in who's a straight guy with a girlfriend, and he said that him and his girlfriend watched it and how much he cried at it. And I was like, that's so wonderful. That's awesome. I think that I had worried about recommending it to people who might be uncomfortable with a lot of sex scenes, but I think the story is so powerful and the characters are really compelling, and people can understand that something might not be for them, but still it is so important for the people who watch it and do see themselves in it.
Han?
So Agree with everything Harley said. And the extra thing that I want to add, I talk frequently in the office with my queer clients about the split between social and cultural queerness and queerness as it relates to sex and sexuality, because those are both very powerful aspects of a full queer identity, and they are oftentimes very much blended together. There are a lot of discussions about kink at Pride, and it's been controversial from time to time. But one thing that my queer clients and I talk about frequently is the fact that sex is a very inherent part of queerness. It is, even if the queer person themselves is asexual or demisexual, or perhaps aromantic or gray romantic or otherwise under the umbrella, that in and of itself is still a sexual orientation. So queer sex is incredibly powerful because it depicts an aspect of queerness that is pretty much integral to our identity. But I think what is also interesting about Heated Rivalry too is that it also talks about cultural queerness under the lens of being a professional, specifically in a professional hypermasculine sport like hockey. And I do think that queer sex is particularly powerful in those settings too, because it shows a particular act of defiance against that hypermasculine stand, that it's okay, you are depicted as a straight man that's supposed to want to have sex with women, but here you are, you're still a very excellent hockey player, but you want to have sex with men. And yet, how does that preclude you from being a good hockey player? It really doesn't at the end of the day, but yet professional hockey players are still very much judged for wanting to have relationships with the same sex. So I think it is in and of itself an act of defiance and rebellion to show queer sex, because it is so controversial, but it also depicts it as what it is, which is normal. And so it's a very like radical normalization almost. And I think that is
great term.
Yes. And I think that's very strong, especially based on the fact that the LGBTQ plus umbrella is very much under attack right now.
Thanks, Han. Sam, you have some statistics for us. You mind sharing those with us?
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know about you, but as soon as I finished the show, I wanted to start it over again, and I in fact did. And I know that I'm not alone because the production company released some really crazy rewatch stats. The average episode was watched by 1/3 of its viewers, and of those who rewatched it, 15% watch an episode 5 or more times. Now, I think we all know which one they're probably rewatching the most, episode 5.
Oh, I was going to say which one.
Episode 5. All of them are so good, so maybe not. I'm making assumptions there. But why do you think that can rewatching be a way to process and reflect on emotions that the show brings up? Like, why are people so interested in rewatching this series?
Take it away, Harley.
Yeah, no, I'm already like, you brought it up. I do think people are processing it and immersing themselves again in all the tension. I want to go back to, I'm not so sure it was a healthy relationship in the beginning. That's for sure. I think it develops that way, and it also shows what it looks like for a relationship to go from being very unhealthy, and I consider it being very avoidant a lot of the time, and Shane trying to reach out repeatedly and getting anxious and having an anxious style in response. Because as much as he pulls away, Shane's, hey, I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know how you are. I want to know if you're okay. I want to be there to support you. I want more than this weird situationship that they have. And so I think that being able to see that path is really inspiring for people to be able to be in it. As much as we've talked about also romance being just something that can feel really, I guess, healthy, feel really like happy for people to watch and be part of, especially if they don't have that. So I think that I really feel like it's, the processing, which you already brought up.
Thanks, Harley. Han?
I do quite a bit of work with play and media analysis with my clients. So I love looking at specific forms of media that are important to clients. And we talk about why, like, why are certain themes important to you, or why are certain characters like sticking out to you, or things like that. I do think that with shows like Heated Rivalry, because of the intensity of the themes presented, people that are actively struggling with those themes in their day-to-day lives seek clarity and understanding through media. So it is very much processing. I have a client that has played a specific video game series all the way through actually twice, and has developed different opinions about herself and her own self-reflection on her own identity through playing that game series. And so we've talked about that regularly and repeatedly in therapy, and how that has been for her. And with my clients that are processing trauma through Heated Rivalry, whether that's relational trauma, whether that's sexual trauma, and just depicting like people having healthy sex on screen is still very important to watch, or people that have been in maybe difficult long-term relationships that are struggling with trauma attached to that too, is I feel very strongly about the fact that media, particularly fiction, is really is incredibly beneficial for people in processing whether it's their own mental health issues, whether it's their own issues relating to their own identity. It provides a very accessible way for people to think about those things as they reflect in their own lives without it adds a little like a layer of softness to it, a layer of distance that it's I can process this without immediately engaging in how does this involve me. I can just say I feel like this character, or I identify with this character, or I identify with this show.
I like that term, being able to identify with the character. I think jumping back to a theme, unrequited love, right? I think a lot of the rewatches, watching that dynamic, watching that unfold, who hasn't maybe felt that in some time in their life, some sort of unrequited love there. So I think that might be something else that's an aspect of the rewatch, that tension that builds, that they do that very masterfully, building that tension throughout the show. Yeah. You guys open to sharing some of your favorite scenes and moments from the show, or why it stands out to you?
I'm gonna go first again just
Yeah.
because I'm excited. But the phone call,
Yes.
where
Yes.
Ilya's in Russia and is just and I think
Oh,
Shane having that
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm just
But
like
it,
let it out to me in a
yeah.
language I don't know. That's
Mhm.
okay. And just how much I think it allows Ilya to break it down in a different way and to like really get into venting and open up in a way he hasn't before. I feel like that's also a note we haven't touched on before is like immigration and language barrier stuff and being able to, I think, come to terms with Ilya's identity as a Russian gay person. And I really appreciate that the show like really brings that in and talks about it because I think it's very complicated for people who go through that and think about, I'm sure that's something people identify with where it's, I'm not sure I could go back if I was out and I'm famous. Yeah, I love that scene. I love that scene
Yeah,
because
that was a beautiful scene. I
you never see
agree.
like a rom-com declaration, but it's the person on the receiving end doesn't understand it and is
Right.
just there to process it. I think
Right.
watching Shane on that stairwell, like
Feeling
just
it,
thinking,
feeling it.
yeah, feeling it and just not necessarily knowing, but being there. Sometimes just that presence is so important for the people that we love.
When I was watching that scene, and you can see Elliot having a bit of a hard time, I literally said to the TV, "Say it in Russian." And then what happened, I was like, "That's right, that's what you needed to do," and it all came pouring out. So I really loved that. I really did. So thank you, Harley. Han, what about you?
Yeah, I will say my number one favorite scene was the exact same scene. It was just incredible, and I believe it was Connor Story who played Ilya. He did such an amazing job with that
Oh,
monologue
yes.
too. Just excellent actor. Just great acting all around in that show. But the other scene that I actually weirdly enough liked, just because I don't see enough people talking about them, I actually do really like the scene where Scott invites Kip onto the ice and they kiss. That
Oh,
feels
yeah.
that feels to me
Yeah.
like a big moment where the way that I've interpreted Scott and Kip's relationship is that they are modeling to Shane and Ilya, this is what being out is like in hockey. And it is possible. It's not it's going to be difficult, but it is something that is possible, and you truly love this person. As I think it was Kip's friend, I forgot what her name was, said, "You deserve to live in the sunshine." And I just think that was beautiful because in that immediate moment, that's when Ilya calls Shane and says, "I'm going to the cottage." And that is the moment that Ilya finally says, "You know what? I can't do this." It's modeling. And in psychology, social modeling is one of the most powerful ways that we learn how to be more authentically ourselves. So I thought that part was really cool. It gave me lots of chills. And then with the episode ending on "I'm going to the cottage," that was perfect.
Yep.
And the whole cottage episode also was just fantastic. It's just a great episode.
I also like in that scene how in the background there's a song that talks about being someone's sunshine. So it like all fits together.
And what about you? Your favorite scene?
Yeah.
My favorite scene, I think, was the club scene.
Oh, that was mine.
Tattoo. Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my alternative answer to this is I really like the parallels from the first episode to the last episode. There were several of them.
Yep.
For example, when they first meet in Shane's hotel room, they're in the dark. And then at the end in the cottage, they're like just swimming in sunlight and just loving it. Then when they're in the gym in the beginning, they're sitting across from each other, but their feet aren't quite touching. In the cottage, they're also sitting across from each other, but much more intimate. Their feet are touching again. When they're at the press conference under the table, their feet touch together. And then at the end, when they're at Shane's parents' house, their feet touch again. And that's a moment of I got you, we're here together type of thing. There are so many throughout the season, and that's something that I really enjoyed.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Sam. It did, watching those scenes, it does, I'm going to call myself old lady lesbian here, way back when you definitely had to be a bit more hidden. And there would be subtle things you would do to show that affection. So those scenes remind me of that, a foot touch, just little things. So it was very touching to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have one more also. I really feel like the scene where Kip tells Scott that he's going home, I feel so proud of that. And I feel like that's an example of him setting boundaries and being like, I won't be part of this. If it's unhealthy, it's hurting me, and I can't be in a relationship that's hurting me. I thought that was a really wonderful and very powerful scene. I feel like we don't always get those examples, that is also modeling, I think, for the audience that may struggle with the same things. Like, at some point you have to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself. And it's a really beautiful part too of him just being like, hey, I have to talk to you. This is not working for me.
I said before about my scene, it was the club scene. I loved the song they played, all the things she said initially by a tattoo, and then they did switch it to, I don't actually know who sang that second version. It's a male sounding voice. Sounds like it was definitely slowed down, but it worked for the scene. They did a great job there. It really caught me there. It was very well done for sure.
Yeah. And admittedly, I was a young queer at the time, female presenting kid when Tattoo was really famous. I remember crying on my bedroom floor listening to all the things she said, and just hearing that very classically culturally queer song playing in the background was it was so powerful. It very much, I think, was a homage to the queer folks that are watching this show.
Yeah, definitely. My gosh, any other last thoughts or insights anyone would like to share?
Last thoughts. The only other thing is I very much appreciated most of the dads in the show. That was one thing that was very consistent to me. I love I love Shane's dad in particular because Shane's dad is just like very happy-go-lucky kind of a guy, but he's also a guy that loves supporting his son. And I do love Una Hollander too, for different reasons as well. But I loved Kip's dad. Kip's dad very much reminded me of my own, and just how gentle and supportive he was of Kip the whole time. It was just great. It's nice to also see healthy parents, I think, in media as well.
Yeah, I agree. I loved Kip's dad. I don't know. I love that plot line a lot. I felt like you get to the third episode and you're like, oh wow, another one, something else.
More gay people, yay! Yeah.
I will say, I also, on last thoughts, I am reading the books this week, and I feel like that's a nice way to process too. It's like, here's another look at this and seeing all the little differences and all the similarities and all the things also that I felt like the show added a few things that the books didn't have, which was nice. So something that I recommend if you're really into the show. The books are super similar and wonderful. So
I've been told they're also a very quick read too.
Romance in general, I think, just flies by. I'm getting really into it lately. Sam, do you have stuff too?
I do, yeah. I think another takeaway I had from the show, like, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, like, just seeing all the Instagram posts, the TikToks, there was so much conversation around it. It really felt like we had created this sense of community around the show and around these two characters and the love that they share. So that was really cool. We all have this like inside joke now about how we're going to the cottage. So that's really cool.
Definitely. My gosh. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, Han. Oh my gosh, Sam, thank you for co-hosting with me. This has been an amazing, really wonderful conversation to have with you guys here. So thank you again.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It was a great idea.
I'd also like to thank the team behind the podcast, Jason Clayton and Juliana Whitten. Thank you for listening to Combos from the Couch. Take care, everyone.